This is rental car number 77, and today I'm driving the 2018 Volvo S60 T5 Inscription. All right, so that's a lot of information. Let's break it down real quick. S60 refers to this being one of Volvo's least expensive sedans, although it's still considered, officially at least, a luxury sports sedan. Inscription refers to the trim level. This is one of the higher trim levels that Volvo has. And then T5 refers to the engine level. Though on the S60, you only get two options. You get the T5 or the T5 with all-wheel drive. So put that all together, and this car retails for about $36,000 to $37,000. All right, so now that we've properly identified this rental, let's turn this weird hood release thing and take a look at what's underneath the hood. So the T5 engine level gets you a 2-liter inline 4-cylinder engine. It's an 8-speed shiftable automatic transmission that kicks out 250 horsepower. And all that power gets you some decent gas mileage, especially for a sedan. You get 25 miles per gallon in the city and 36 on the highway with a 17.8-gallon fuel tank. So when you put that all together, you get a decent car when it comes to acceleration. This is still a 4-door sedan, and it's a 4-cylinder, so it doesn't exactly jump off the line, but it's still a decent ride. I guess if I'm going to criticize this car, it would be that when you really hit the accelerator, you don't feel it pull and really suck you into the driver's seat. You just feel a very gentle, strong sort of acceleration onto the highway, which is good enough if you're looking for a 4-door sedan, but not quite exciting enough for me. So I'm criticizing the S60 with a little bit of trepidation because this is the first ever Volvo that I've driven, and I really liked it a lot. I just think where it shines the most is in the interior. So let's jump inside so I can kind of give you a feel for what I'm talking about. I don't know about you, but this really looks like a luxury sedan to me. I think these leather seats are beautifully designed, and the car just has a real nice feel to it. I do want to point out that the Volvo comes with memory seat settings, so you can save the position you put the seat in. It's kind of a big deal for me. I'm about 6 to 8 inches taller than my wife, so I love being able to hit one button and get the seat back to where I put it. I also really like how uncluttered the interior feels. I love that there are these big open spaces where there are no buttons, logos, knobs, anything like that. It really does give this car a calm feel that I really enjoyed. So here's the key fob for the S60, nothing on the back but the logo and 5 pretty common buttons on the front: lock, unlock, trunk release, panic, and then there's also this strange button to activate the headlights when you're outside the vehicle. I don't know about you, but I've never seen a light button on a key fob before. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to play around with it much, but here's what I did do. Outside during normal daytime hours, when you press this button, the daytime headlights do activate. You can see it right here. I don't know, kind of a fun feature. I don't know if it'd be useful or not, but it's kind of interesting. And because you have a key fob, you do get a push button start. It's located a little bit higher on the dash than I've seen lately, but it's a nice square button. And when you do hit the start button, the car starts up very quickly. Let me give you a quick taste. And then the same thing looking at the gauge cluster. And then one last time looking at the center display. And then here's the steering wheel. You have a couple of buttons to interact with. On the left-hand side, here are your cruise controls. That 0 button is just your cancel button to stop the cruise. On the right-hand side, you get buttons to interact with the entertainment features and your phone. And then up above, you get, at least in my opinion, a very beautiful gauge cluster. I really think this is beautiful. And that entire circle that you see, that's a whole digital screen. So you can customize it in a couple of different ways. And it's actually pretty easy. You just navigate to the themes setting in the menu structure, and then you have 3 choices: elegance, eco, and performance. So the themes aren't dramatically different, but you do get some different information and some different colors depending on what you set. So let's put it on performance. You get a nice aggressive red, and then your miles per hour are nice and big right in the center of that display. I also think it's fun that the center display changes color too, depending on what theme you set. So red for performance, greenish for eco, and then matte black for elegance. So just quickly going back to the gauge cluster, there are some other menus that you can choose from. You get your basic stuff, but really I think the themes are probably my favorite. I like that you can change the setting of the car like this. I think it's a lot of fun, and I played around with it quite a bit while I was driving. And then shifting your gaze to the left of the steering wheel, get all your standard buttons here. Window controls, that joystick is for the mirrors, lock buttons, your fuel and trunk releases are right here. And then you also have your parking brake at the very bottom, which is kind of a strange place to put the parking brake, I feel like. Strange in a way that I didn't notice it, so I don't think I ever activated the parking brake while I was driving the S60. And let's talk side mirrors. So standard size here, nothing too special, but you do get blindside detection. The light for the blindside indicator is actually on the interior of the vehicle, not on the mirror itself. So you see it glowing right now, kind of an orange color. So the light does turn on when someone's in your blind spot, and then if you do turn on your turn signal and someone's in your blind spot, the light flashes to give you an extra warning. Honestly, these work great. I really found them to be a benefit to my driving rather than an annoyance. And I think my favorite thing about the blindside detection is that there's actually a button on the center display to turn it on and off. That's down at the bottom. You see the button marked BLIS for blindside detection. All right, so let's shift our focus to the top and center of the vehicle. You have all the controls you would expect here. You have your interior lights, you have an SOS button, and then you have controls to operate the sunroof. And the sunroof is nice, but not great. Here's what it looks like closed. You'll see that it's a decent size, but not a moonroof. It doesn't cover the whole roof of the vehicle. And then here's what it looks like opened. Now, this might seem strange, but what I'm more impressed with is the rear view mirror, which typically I just ignore and move on in my reviews, but Volvo's done a really nice job of making this look, I don't know, fancier? Is that a good way to put it? I think what gets me is that there's really no bezel. There's no edge to it. It just sort of ends when the mirror ends, which I haven't seen much lately. And I don't know if the video really captures it. It really is kind of striking. All right, so let's move away from my weird obsession with the rear view mirror and talk about the center display, which is right below the rear view mirror. It's pretty decent looking. It's a little bit small in my opinion, but the colors are nice and the resolution is pretty crisp. This is not a touchscreen. You're going to navigate through all the menus using the buttons down below. But before we get to that, I should mention there's a nice rear view camera and also sensors for park assist to let you know when you're getting close to an object while you're parking the vehicle. All right, and then last thing about the center display, one of my favorite things about these luxury cars is that the owner's manual is actually built into the center display. That's really cool because it's searchable, it's also organized in different categories, and this is really fun because if there's something in the car that you don't know what it does, you can quickly navigate to it using this built-in owner's manual and figure it out pretty quickly. And you're going to have to use that owner's manual because look at this thing right here. These are the controls for basically everything in the car. You have your climate controls, the controls to navigate through the menus and the center display. Everything is right here. So when I first got into the vehicle, I found this to be a little bit overwhelming. It's not very intuitive. I think it could be organized a lot better. So I struggled to find the right temperature settings and stuff while I was driving on the highway. But after a couple of hours, you figure out where the buttons are and it's really no big deal. So a little further back from there, you get your gear shift. I don't know what to say here. It's nice, shifts well, definitely feels like it's made out of quality materials, and you do get an indicator up here on the gauge cluster to show you what gear you're in. All in all, this worked fine, no complaints. And then behind there, you get a center armrest with a little bit of storage space down in there. There's also an auxiliary jack and a USB port for you. And then last but not least, obviously there's a glove box. I was kind of impressed how deep this is. I've been having a lot of cars lately where the glove box is shallow and small, so it's nice to see that you actually get some decent storage space in the S60. All right, but let's move on to the back seat because there's some fun things to talk about here that I want to show you. I think I mentioned this before, but I really like how these leather seats look. I think Volvo's done a great job. The leather is also really soft, so it's very comfortable back here. I also really like that there's vents back here for your passengers, and they're adjustable, so each person really can have the air blowing or not blowing on them as they see fit. Each window also gets a collapsible sunshade back here. I really like how they sort of disappear into the window itself. I've only really seen this on minivans, so it's nice to see it added to a sedan. all you do is pull up on this little tab right here. The screen rolls out really smoothly, and then you hook it up to a nice latch on the top of the window. One quick negative, there are no USB ports back here, but you do get a DC power port right here at the rear of the center armrest for the front seat passengers. But switching back to positive, the car seat anchors back here are very shallow, so it should be fairly easy to set up a car seat if you need to. And then finally, there is a center armrest that folds down very smoothly in the back. It reveals two nice sized cup holders and a nice storage space right here. So before we end things by taking a look at the trunk space, I do want to mention that these seats fold down. I mean, most sedans do nowadays, but I think it's important to see what it actually looks like when you fold the seats down. And to do this, there's actually two ways. The first is in the center console. You see that button with the seat on the left-hand side with the arrow? You can press that to release the seats. Or you can go back in the trunk, reach up towards the roof of the trunk, and pull two levers to release the seats. All right, so I know this isn't super exciting, but let's close things out by taking a look at the trunk. Actually a decent amount of storage space back here. I always think it's important that the wheel wells don't infringe on the space. I like to see a nice rectangular or square space so you can really take advantage of all of that room, and you get that for the most part back here. And then there's also this weird shelving system. I thought it was going to reveal a place to hide some tools, but it's not. It's actually a partition for the trunk so you can divide up the space a little bit more efficiently. All right, so that's all the good stuff for the 2018 Volvo S60 T5 Inscription. I think after spending 2 days with this car, driving it almost 200 miles, I think I'm going to give this one a very reluctant 3 stars. Look, there is nothing wrong with the S60. I really enjoyed driving this car. I would gladly rent it again. But if I'm going to compare this to maybe the Audi A6 or maybe the 3 Series BMW, I just think this one is probably at the bottom of the pack. Kind of disappointed about the size of the center display's screen. Don't really like the controls for everything in the center of the console, and the acceleration of this vehicle, it just isn't very exciting. Anyway, that's me. If you disagree with me, I would love to hear from you from the comments. Let me know what I got wrong. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you join me next time when I rent my 78th rental car. I'll see you then.